Okay. So today we are going to discuss the demo session of Hadoop Big Data. We'll come to know what is Hadoop, what is Big Data, the difference between two of these, and what are the things involved. Ecosystem projects are involved in Hadoop that makes Hadoop a better technology to process a huge amount of data. So I'll just demonstrate a few architecture how the Hadoop works. So we'll move forward. Myself, Vikram Janardhanan. I have around 4 years of experience. I've done the Cloudera certification for developer and also got trained by Horton versus an administrator. I'm going to be a trainer. So throughout the session, if you have any question in written, you can stop me. Yeah. So the today agenda is, I've given my introduction and also we'll go through the course content. We'll understand what is big data and also we're going to understand what is Hadoop, the real-time use cases on industries, in different industries, how Hadoop is be used, and the Hadoop growth and multiple opportunity on the market, especially job opportunity. And we'll have a demo of class 1, part of class 1 session, that will be the architecture of Hadoop. Finally, if you have any question answer, we'll discuss there. Okay, thanks first of all, thanks everyone for joining the session. So these are the main course content which we are going to discuss as part of this Hadoop Big Data course. And first one is introduction to big data, Apache Hadoop origin, Hadoop architecture and different cluster modes. Come to know what do you mean by cluster and all, and Hadoop cluster configuration. How many ways, what are the things we need to configure in order to use Hadoop cluster. And we have two main important core components, HDFS and MapReduce. And going further, we are going to discuss some of the important core Hadoop components. So this is the core ecosystem components. Big five, these are the four main important Apache projects. And other, we are going to discuss all other ecosystem components which are there in the market. Impala, Spark, Zookeeper. These are some of the ecosystem components that will be used, and they have their own set of purpose and all. We are going to discuss that as well, and not in depth and a technical overview of those components, how it will be used, how it made an impact in the Apache project, the Hadoop project especially. And I'll be going to give you FAQs on each and every topic here. And also we will be having practical sessions live in the course, as well as I'll be giving you some assignments in order to learn yourself. So I hope if you have any question in this, you can ask me. Yeah. So we are going to see the topics now. So what is big data? I think so what is big data? By seeing this picture, we'll understand what is the word big data means. We have different set of sources here where the data is getting generated. Okay, these are all electronic media and social media, enterprise world. Each and every device is generating the data. All together, we call it as a big data. Okay. So big data in the sense, just it's a simple word, it's a huge amount of data, that's it, nothing more than that. It's a huge amount of data. And in order to know, IBM has given us a definition for this big data, how we can call some data as a big data. Okay, IBM has given some definition for us to understand what is big data. So based upon IBM definition, they're saying like the data which satisfy these three characteristics were called as big data: variety, volume, velocity. What do you mean by variety? Different formats of data. Okay, it can be audio file, video file, structured table, no, flat file, text files. These are the different formats of data which holds the formats of file which holds the actual data. Okay, that is mean by variety. It can be structured or unstructured. Structured in the sense, or RDBMS enterprise world will use structured data in terms of RDBMS tables. Okay, MySQL, Oracle, RDB, DB2, all these databases are designed to, to process only structured data in the form of tables. Okay, what do you mean by unstructured data? Unstructured data in the sense the data doesn't have any schema. Doesn't have any schema in the sense like audio file, video file, flat file. It doesn't have any schema to refer or process. Okay, that kind of data is called as unstructured data. And also we have semi-structured data. All these categories like XML files, these and all comes under semi-structured data. Okay, so the next one, the first point, understand, right? Variety, different formats of data. We are generating the data, in different formats. It's not only fixed only one format. We are generating in different varieties of data. So that is the first point. If our system, our enterprise company, whatever we have in our process, we are generating different types of data. First one that comes under variety, and second one is volume. Volume in the sense the size of data that helps us to measure that. The measurement of the data, how much data we are generating. Okay, that can be measured through volume parameter, like in terabytes or petabytes or exabyte or yottabyte or zettabyte. No, it goes on again. So what the size of data, how much data we are generating. Okay, based upon that we can conclude that it is a big data. And third one is the velocity, how fast, how speed we are generating the data, the frequency rates of generating the data in daily basis or weekly basis. Okay, so the enterprise world, the enterprise company, if they are having any big data problem, they will be measuring based upon these three properties: variety, volume, and velocity. If these three functionalities or these three parameters satisfied their data, they compare with this data, then they can call it as a big data. Okay, in my project basically, as per my clients, we will be generating the data in different formats, in the like from a web XMLs, websites, chat windows, chat logs, and the server logs. These are all different types of data getting generated minute by minute or second by seconds. Okay, the volume of data daily we will be generating almost 1 or 2 GB of data. Again, it also satisfies the second thing. And the third one, velocity. How much data, almost 2 to 3 GB we are generating, that satisfies the volume. And the velocity, how fast we are generating the data, the frequency of data. So yesterday I have generated 2 GB, today I generated 10 GB, tomorrow I have generated 20 GB. So the velocity is increasing day by day. Okay, so it means we are going towards the big data. We are going to have soon the problem with big data. Okay, before that you have to understand like what is mean by big data. As per the enterprise world, in my server configuration or Oracle or Blade servers has been have some set of configuration that can handle that much of data. If the data is exceeding the configuration or the available designed configuration settings or space available hardware configuration, if it cannot able to handle that data, then those data is called as a big data. This is a simple example. But for better understanding, as per my laptop configuration, I have 1 TB hard disk. Okay, I can only store or process the data which is less than 1 TB. Okay, daily I am getting over 100 MB of files. Someday I am getting 1 GB of files. I am daily uploading to my database. Yeah, so total size is 1 TB. So we have to predict how soon we are going to exceed that 1 TB hard disk which is configured to me. So based upon how they are going to predict, in the sense based upon these three properties. Okay, based upon the varieties of files and volume of file and velocity is getting increased. So soon, by next 2 to 3 months, I'm going to exceed the data more than 1 TB. So I don't have the property, I don't have the configuration of hardware property to support that 1 TB of data, to handle more than 1 TB of data. So I have to upgrade myself. So this is how the problem with big data can be predicted based upon these three V property. We call it as a three V's: variety, volume, and velocity. Any question in this, sir? It is very, no, we have to understand what is big data. I think I can move forward. So any question, you can ping me the chat window, or else I'll move forward. I think it explains. Okay then. So let's compare with the data, no, how in the enterprise data trends. These measurements are taken by IDC. Okay, so based upon their report, analytical report, the growth of the data all over the world has been given here in the terms of bar chart. You can see starts from 2007 onwards. We have started receiving a huge amount of data. The entire world is generating too much of data. Okay, in that, as we are working as the employees of the software companies, right, we'll be working on only on structured data. We are not bothered about unstructured data. Okay, we are just simply leaving and we are wasting those data. Okay, we only use this unstructured data which is there in the violet color, blue color. Okay, this orange indicates that it's unstructured data. Okay, it's a kind of machine data or voice over IP, call logs, call histories. Okay, so these kind of data is it's actually, it says the growth of these unstructured data is more compared to the growth of the structured data, and comparing the entire data growth is also exponentially, it's increasing. So it's increasing exponentially. So in this IT world, we have almost 80% of unstructured data growth. Okay, so as per the enterprise world, we will be using only structured data, and based upon the analytics of structured data, we are predicting our company revenue or product growth, and all these predictive analysis are based upon this only structured data. We are not using this unstructured data. What if we use this 100% of data to predict or analyze? So we'll be getting definitely an accurate results, right? So the result of that analysis will be 99% accurate. Compared to this, only we are analyzing this 10 to 20% of data, of structured data. I hope you understand this. Shall I move forward? Can you please respond? Can say okay or.
Yeah, sure. Okay, move forward.
Okay, yeah, Sriram, thank you. So in other way, how we can compare the size of data virtually. This is how it exactly says. If you see the 1 TB, it doesn't even, I'm not able to see that as well. Yes. Yes, Karthik. Yep.
Okay. You muted that one, huh?
Yeah. You have any questions?
Yeah, go ahead now.
Okay. So this is how virtually we can able to see the size of data. Comparing the 1 TB to 1 PB, 1 PB to 1 XB. No, this is how I'm not able to see the 1 TB of data, and 1 petabyte of data is very small dot. No, it's comparing to this. No, 1 zettabyte is huge. So this is how the size of data actually we have in the entire world today. So estimated data global sorry, estimated global data volume is on 2011 is 1.8 zettabytes. Okay, by 2015, we already in 2015, it's almost 8 zettabytes. So compare the growth of data between 2011 to 2015. The data growth is it's doubling every year or tripling every year. Okay, so just estimate by 2020 we are going to do towards 20 zettabytes or 30 zettabytes. So we have in this enterprise world, we need a system, we need a technology to process this huge amount of data. Okay, in the current enterprise world, we don't have such technology or software to process this huge amount of data. We have, but it's too much expensive to process that huge amount of data. We have mainframe system. It stores a huge amount of data and can able to process it. But the expense to process each and every bit of the data will be more. Each and every seconds of CPU usage will be calculated. It will be charged, and it will be resulted in a huge expense in order to store and process. So we need such a technology should be very cheaper, helps us to process huge amount of data. Okay, so here comes our Hadoop helps us these kind of problems which we are facing today. So it helps us to store huge amount of data as well as process this huge amount of data through that Hadoop technology itself. We have some set of frameworks which are developed on top of Hadoop. Okay, so just for your understanding, yeah, I think better understand that comparing the 1 zettabyte with 1 TB, it doesn't match. So the world information doubles every year. Overall, next 10 years, the number of servers worldwide will grow by multiples of 10. Just in order to predict the data growth or data volume on this current enterprise world, this is how this slide says us. Okay, number of files enterprise data center handle will grow by multiples of 75. So we have to upgrade our current technology, or each and every technology will support in such there is some extent we can't able to, that technology can't able to handle that huge amount of data. At some point of time they have to come to big data Hadoop only in order to use or process your data. And also it helps us to centralize the data in one place. Okay, we'll be having multiple different storage parts. Using Hadoop, if we are using Hadoop, we can centralize all the data in one place, and we can process based upon the tools. We have plugins, which we can process the data from the Hadoop itself. We can the plugins in the sense we can plug in different sources to one place. Okay, so you can any questions again, you can stop me anywhere in the slide. I'll explain you or clear your question, doubts. Okay then. So we'll see first what is Hadoop. So Apache Hadoop is an open source. Okay, it's an open source technology. Basically, it's a framework that allows for the distributed processing of large data sets across cluster of commodity computers using a simple programming model. Okay, we will split this definition in 3 parts. Okay, so Hadoop is a framework, that is fine, that allows for distributed processing. What is distributed processing? So the process will be parallel, will be distributed. Okay, for a better example, like I have some work that should be I'm loaded with heavy work. If I do alone, it will take almost 10 days to complete that work task. If I can share among the 5 or 6 people, I can complete within half a day or 1 day. Correct. In the same way, we will be sharing the processing load to different. We'll be having parallel processing. Okay, that's what distributed processing. Instead of linear process, we'll be processing in distributed way. Okay, distributed processing on large data sets. So again, Hadoop is designed only for large amount of data. It's not capable of it's not capable in the sense it's not recommended to use Hadoop for a small data small data where we have in the enterprise world. If you have a problem with big data, then move to Hadoop and you can process a huge amount of data using Hadoop. Okay, in distributed manner. Okay, across how this Hadoop manages in the sense across cluster of commodity computers. So cluster, what is mean by cluster here again? The cluster in the sense will be having group of commodity computers. Commodity computers in the sense like it's a cheap hardware, cheap computers which will be available in the market for very cheap. Okay? It will have CPU, it will have RAM, and it will have hard disk. So the motherboard, hard disk, all together will form as one CPU, one node. Will be putting into the racks, and all multiple computers will be connected together. So it forms a cluster. Okay. So each and every individual computers, which which you people are using is it's a somewhat home laptop or something kind of thing. In the enterprise world, we will be having commodity computers. It will have only the motherboard and the hard disk and the RAM. That's it. Doesn't have anything. All these processors will be interconnected to each other. It forms a cluster. Okay. So how the processing will be made using a simple programming model. Java is one of the simple programming model which is available in the market, and this entire Hadoop framework is designed or developed from Java only. Okay, I think you have understand the definition properly. Hadoop is a framework that allows for the distributed processing of large data sets across cluster of commodity computers using a simple programming model. Okay, any questions in this definition?
No.
Yeah. So and again we'll see what are the companies using Hadoop. The first company is Yahoo. The next one is Google, Facebook, Amazon, AOL, IBM, and so on. Lot many companies are using. No, why the first name is Yahoo? In the entire world, they have the huge cluster setup. 40,000 computers are connected together in order to process their huge amount of data. 40,000. Just imagine how big the cluster size is. 40,000 nodes. We call it as a nodes. Each and every computer we call it as a node. Commodity computers we call it as a node. So 40,000 nodes are connected to each other, interconnected to form that huge amount of cluster. So next to Yahoo, Google is having the next huge cluster. Okay, almost 20 or 10 to 15 nodes, 15,000 nodes. And next to Google is Facebook. So all these top three companies contributed to this Apache Hadoop in different ways that we will discuss. Okay. And in coming classes or in regular classes, we will discuss about the history of Hadoop as well. Who found the Hadoop and all. Just for our general knowledge, nothing helps us. In interview and all, no one asks about this. Okay. So just have a look of this Hadoop ecosystem component. How Hadoop, the storage part, processing part helps. What are the main tools involved in this? In order to, it helps us to handle that huge amount of data. Okay, in Hadoop, we will be having two important framework. Okay, these two frameworks combined together, it forms an Hadoop, Apache Hadoop. Okay, HDFS, Hadoop Distributed File System. Okay, just understand, Hadoop Distributed File System will be the storage part. All the huge amount of data will be coming to this storage system, file system only, distributed file system only, where the data will be splitted into multiple blocks and will be stored in different places or different nodes. So this entire Hadoop distributed file system will be formed by connecting multiple computers together, multiple nodes together, where it forms this Hadoop distributed file system. So in a cluster, all system will be interconnected, and the disk and all will be commonly shared, and this will be called as Hadoop distributed file system. I'll explain you in depth. Just understand, we will be having HDFS, Hadoop distributed file system, in order to store the data. That's it. We'll go in depth in going further. Okay, the next one is we have a storage part. Okay, fine, we have stored it. I need to process the data on Hadoop. Okay, for processing we have MapReduce. Okay, MapReduce framework which helps us to process the data which is stored on HDFS. Okay, this is a processing model. It helps us to process the data which is stored on HDFS. Okay, and data also distributed among the cluster, across the cluster, and the processing was also distributed across the cluster. Okay, both are in distributed format only, basically. On low level, both will processing or storage will be on distributed manner. Okay, so we'll discuss in depth. Just understand, MapReduce framework is only for processing, HDFS is only for storage. Okay, how the data will be we are getting into Hadoop. We have two tools, Flume and Scoop, is both Apache products. Okay, Scoop helps us to import or export the data which is there in RDBMS. Okay, all the structured data can be imported or exported through Scoop into HDFS. Okay, it supports only structured data. In order to import or export we'll be using Flume. It helps us to import or export all this unstructured data into HDFS. So Flume is for unstructured data, Scoop is for structured data. MapReduce has the capability to process structured data as well as unstructured data. We can process both the data. Okay. So on top of MapReduce. So this MapReduce processing will be based upon Java. All Java develop. If you are good in Java, you can directly code your Java program that will be processed on MapReduce. Basically, MapReduce in the sense all these Hadoop is developed on top of Java. So if you are good in Java, you can directly write a MapReduce program. So I'm not good in Java. I don't know Java.
Could you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
You said.
Yes, Sriram.
You said Flume is for unstructured data and Scoop is for structured data, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, based on the diagram, I mean, what I understood is Flume is just used for importing and Scoop is for exporting, in spite of whether it's structured data or unstructured data. Whether my understanding is correct?
No. It's just not like that. For importing and exporting, both ways Scoop can be used to handle only structured data. It will
understood
transfer
now.
the file inside that.
Based on the diagram, I understand that way.
Okay. It's not that way. So importing and exporting both ways. For structured data, Scoop is used. For importing and exporting unstructured data, Flume is used.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay. So will be not everyone good in Java. I'm talking about the MapReduce. If you're good in Java, you can directly write a MapReduce program. So fine. If you're not good in Java as well, you can use Hive in terms of SQL. If you're good or comfortable with basic SQL, you can use Hive. It's a data warehouse tool in order to query the data on HDFS. Okay, which is there in HDFS. Internally, whenever you are writing any SQL query, that will be converted into Java program that will be executed again in order to fetch the data which is there in HDFS. Okay, fine. We have some other new technology, Pig. Pig Latin is a data flow language. It's a scripting language. No, it's something like Linux commands. It's similar to Linux commands also. Okay, you can use Pig scripts as well, Pig commands, in order to process the data which is there in HDFS. And again, if you write any Pig commands, that internally convert into Java program, Java MapReduce program. Okay, and we will be having machine learning where we can develop the application. Mahout is a machine learning. I'm not going to discuss. I'm not good in that machine learning and all. That's again a different part. Okay. So on top of that, we have Apache Oozie, where the scheduling of the task or workflow can be, we can schedule all the workflow tasks on using Apache Oozie. So I want to run a MapReduce program. After running this, I need to run a Hive. After running Hive, I need to run a Pig. This kind of workflow can be scheduled using Oozie one by one. The output of MapReduce will be the input of Hive. Okay, the output of Hive will be the input of Pig. Some kind of this kind of workflow can be managed through Oozie, and we can schedule that as well. We can schedule that I need to run this workflow on so and so time. All this scheduling and workflow management will be done by using Apache Oozie. Okay, and we have HBase. It's something different. Okay, it's a NoSQL database, not only SQL, where the data is stored on in the column-oriented data format. Then that like SAP HANA and all, Cassandra, MongoDB, these setups all comes under this NoSQL databases. Okay, so that we in Hadoop we can use those kind of NoSQL database. That will work better with Hadoop. Okay, that also HBase Cassandra also worked in distributed format only, so that can be fitted better in this Hadoop ecosystem. Okay, so it helps us to. There is only one difference between by using HDFS or HBase. Both is a storage part. So we have entire HDFS. If I install HBase on Hadoop, some part of HDFS will be used as HBase. Okay, in low level the data will be stored on HDFS, but the format of data and the accessing will be different when we have the layer. One small layer will be there on top of HDFS that will be called as HBase. So all the data access retrieval goes through this HBase. That particular area will be managed by this HBase. Okay, it's not a external storage system. It's again the entire storage will be on HDFS. Some part of HDFS will be given to HBase when we install HBase. Okay, are you clear with this ecosystem diagram? Any questions?
Hello, Vikram.
Yes.
Hello, Vikram.
Yes.
You said some part of. Yeah, you said that some part of thing will be used in HBase. What is the purpose of using HBase here?
It's a NoSQL database that we'll discuss in detail. In short description, like the data retrieval in RDBMS, the data will be stored on row format, right? So in the
I'm not good at even so. Okay, you can go ahead.
Okay, no, I'll just give you the difference. In HDFS, we have one drawback. We cannot update the data in HDFS. Okay. We can't do OLTP. Online transactional processing can't do. HDFS doesn't support that. So through HBase we can do that. OLTP. Got it?
For online.
Yeah. We can update the record, or we can update the file which is there in existing in the HDFS. So on low level the data will be stored on HDFS. Okay. We'll be having one layer that is called as HDFS, that will be interface between HDFS and the client application, and the data stored in different format. If we are using HDFS in column oriented formats, we can update the data in HBase.
Okay.
So we have a drawback in HDFS. We can't update the data in HDFS. So by using HBase, we can update the data. No, read, just a better understand, like, write once, read many times in HDFS. You can able to write only once. Take a file, something like a.txt, I can able to write a file into HDFS only once. Okay. And I can able to read multiple times. I cannot update the a.txt file. I have 100 records. I need to update one more new 20 records are came. Okay, I cannot update those 20 records or appending. I cannot append the 20 records to HDFS. The file a.txt which is there in HDFS. Okay, it doesn't support it.
So say that you can store only once, but you can't make any changes to the data, but you can read those data multiple times.
Yes, correct. You can't do any changes. You cannot update basically. So those kind of update can be done through HBase. That is, it not only that one. For understanding, I have given that explanation. We have lot many features on HBase compared to HDFS. So that is the reason so many people will be using NoSQL databases. So that will be again a different course, a different setup to learn HBase only. If you want to learn eagerly, want to learn HBase, okay, that will be the separate course content will be there, and separate certification also will be available for HBase. Entire Hadoop will be having one certification. For this only for this HBase will be having some other other certification. We have different certification. Okay. Yeah. So I think you are good in this ecosystem community. You know what are the components are used for, what are the purposes and all. Okay. And we'll have I'll give you some real-time use cases which is used in this insurance, healthcare, retail, genome sequencing, utilities. Okay, if you take insurance, it's one of the domain where we can use Hadoop. How it can be used and all. Okay, we have auto insurance, life insurance. So lot many different types of insurance. I mainly work for auto insurance. What we will do in the sense, like we'll be using, we'll be collecting all the driver history, how is driving, the vehicle history, everything. I work for an US project which is Massachusetts, where we have a remote motor vehicle registry data and a merit rating board where we will have the driver data. So they want to introduce one new discount. Before introducing that coverage, they want to analyze. So if we introduce this discount, whether this discount will give us a revenue or no, it will generate a revenue and it will be helpful for us to grow. Okay, and that type of discount will also help customer to attract. Okay, it's confusing or what? They want to introduce one discount. That discount should be attractable to the customers, and also if they purchase, the company should get revenue on that. Okay, so the coverage name is accident forgiveness. They want to forgive the accidents which the drivers are. No, if they met with some accidents, their insurance premium will go high. Okay, in order to control that, we'll be having accident forgiveness coverage. Through that coverage, we can avoid that premium shoot up. Okay, so that is the main agenda of that particular topic, particular that coverage. So we will be collecting all this merit rating board where we will be having the driver history and all. We have to find, our task is, we have to find the maximum number of accidents happening in that particular area, the age group, who are between the age group, based upon this age group, who will be doing more accidents. We have to analyze it, and when will be they doing those accidents. Okay, and in short description, like we found that the age between 20 to 26, they are doing more accidents. Okay, and due to these results, now based upon these results, they made a terms and condition. If the customer is aged between 20 and 26, they will not give they will give accident forgiveness. If in order to purchase that accident forgiveness, they have to pay 10 or 15% extra to their premium in order to get this. Okay, if it is more than 26 age, they have to, they can purchase as it is with by help of 10%. They have increased the price rate between 20 and 26. Okay, in terms of any loss, if they claim, they should be in revenue, no, they should be in safer place, right? Did you understand this auto insurance part? This is one of the use case which I really worked for. Okay, and other one is healthcare insurance. So healthcare in the sense like we'll be going to hospital each and every day. Whenever we 5 years back I have some diseases, I have taken some vaccine. So that vaccine will be there in our body for more than 10 years. We may not know about it. Okay, so later sometime I have some other problem. I went to doctor. He gave the medicine which will be get reacted. Okay, the vaccine which I have taken 5 years back. Okay, he may not know about, we may not know about, we forgot it. It's almost old, almost 5 years back, right? These kind of things will be happening. Okay, in order to avoid these things, we will be centralizing the health data in one place where we will get the entire health information about yourself, or no, based upon the health card. Will be in US and all, will be maintaining health card and all. So all this health information will be centralized. Wherever you go, your information will be up to date. Okay, so based upon that information, we can able to treat you better or serve you better. In this way, Hadoop will be used there. Got my point? And again, retail. So in retail, we'll be purchasing some product. Again, like every month, one customer is going to and purchasing one product on particular day. Okay, we may not know about it. All this data will be stored and analyzed, and they come to know that so-and-so customer is purchasing only one product, every month. Okay, he is not going to purchase any other than this product. So they started giving door delivery to that customer for every month, because they know that he is going to come and buy, purchase this product only. Okay, why can't we deliver him home? And also while going, they'll recommend, sir, you can buy this also, this will so good. Okay, we are serving them and we are targeting the customer. Okay, in retail industry, what is genome sequencing? We'll be analyzing DNA sequence. Okay, on 2009 and all, in order to analyze the DNA. Yes.
Hi, Vikram.
Yes, sir.
Vikram?
Yes, Sriram.
Yeah, you mean that they'll be tracking the customer's behavior, right?
Yes,
Buying pattern.
Yes.
Okay.
Online or an offline, everywhere your details will be recorded and will be tracked and will be targeted.
Oh no, what I mean is whether they will be using this big data. I mean, in EMS some e-commerce platform also.
Yes, yes, definitely. In e-commerce also, no, basically it's no more of almost this eBay, Amazon. They will be using big data backend.
Okay, okay.
So the
I mean, based
recommendation they
on
have,
buying patterns, they will be giving some. I mean, what they target the customers and they will give the suggestions what the offer they have
yes,
for
yes,
the
yes.
month.
If you search any product on Google and
Okay.
until you buy or no, if you not buy, it will come. It will be recommended in all your web pages you browse for almost more
Yeah,
than
yeah, yeah.
1 week. That's kind of no algorithm will be there in with Google. And
Okay.
in the same way in eBay, if you purchase any product, if you try to purchase any product, there will be no showing that you still you haven't the last activity, the last
Yeah,
product
yeah,
which
yeah.
you have bought.
The recently viewed kind of thing will be there in many cases.
Come again?
Yeah, in many cases there would be something called recently viewed.
Yes, yes, yes. Recently viewed, and you have browsed this data, you browsed this product, and you didn't buy it, something like, and they will be
Yeah,
asking
yeah,
for your review. Why? What made you if you not buying this product? Something like that. And also, like if you're going to some tabs and all, you want you really want to buy. If you go, if you're going to some other tab and you saw something and simply you closed it, you logged out. So these kind of
yeah.
activities, customer behavior will be also maintained and will be analyzed. What made a customer to log out? What is there in our website? He added to the cart and he logged out. What made him to log out? Something these kind of
Yeah.
patterns, activities will be analyzed and they will be framing the pattern. So these kind of pattern, the customers are logging out many times. In order to avoid this, they will be improving their performance. So in order to attract their customers, basically, in simple word, the each and everyone will be targeted. Okay, if you are in need, will be targeted. Definitely, that's what. And there is I work for one bank project where the customer posted in Facebook like I want to, oh, I'm going to fly New York next week. So based on that information, the bank they took all his social media activity and analyzed it. And whenever he goes into the ATM next time, they recommended if you're planning for the travel, take this travel insurance. It helps you, and also you will get the US card, and you will can convert your money in dollars. Something like that. These kind of packages will be introduced and will be targeted. So I will be able to analyze, I will able to understand, visualize the things. This is how it works. Hello, hello, Karthik, Sriram. Yeah, yeah. This is how they will be doing the pattern analysis. We'll have some other use cases as well going forward in each and every task. Will you can able to understand better. And the next one is genome sequencing, where will be the DNA pattern will be analyzed. The DNA. I mean, no, if you're in if you know about the biology, so you can come to know that DNA will be having some pattern, ATN, G something, some patterns will be there in order to analyze the matching the DNA sequence with others. So these kind of analysis will be done through Hadoop big data. Okay, they can able to do it or perform this activity within 1 or 2 hours late. Almost 5 years back, no, in 2009, they had done almost some research on DNA pattern analyzing, matching pattern. It took them almost 3 to 4 years in order to perform this activity. After in 2013, using Hadoop big data, they done this activity within a month. So this is how the difference is there. If we have some technology or tools which supports us, and we can analyze and we can dig it more and we can get more insights of it. Okay. So have in Hadoop we have two set of versions, 1.x and 2.x. Utilities in the sense like what all the other things I have left that will become under utilities that will be discussed. Okay, in many cases, many domains will be using Hadoop. Okay, like mm, some other
Vikram?
yes.
I mean, you have any idea about how this Hadoop works in logistics and all?
Logistics means I don't have any idea of logistics. You can give me some explanation what is logistics?
Predominantly, right?
Huh? Yes, Sriram.
No, I don't know whether they are using Hadoop in logistics also. No, right?
No, what is logistics in the sense that what's the basic business perspective in logistics?
Like business freight forwarding, like sending parcels or containers from a buyer to a sender.
No, that case we are not using Hadoop there, but if that is data is not, if it is recorded, that also helps us to understand basically in Hadoop, if we have
What
a
I
huge
mean
amount of data.
There are some customers, I mean, like logistic service providers are using Hadoop.
Okay. Then let me explain. If they have that huge amount of data, they don't have any other tools to process it. If they have that much, they have collected that much information from clients, from customers. Okay, they can easily come to Hadoop and they can do their analysis. It's not like it's restricted to one domains and all. If they have a huge amount of data, then they can come to Hadoop and they can do their analytics. Okay, it also deals with a huge number of customers, right? They'll be having some set of information, some set of data that can be, they have recorded the data from last 10 to 15 years, how the logistics their domains has grown, how the business has been happening from last year to this year. Okay, how can they serve better? Okay, these kind of activities also will, if they recorded everything, if they made the data, if they're generating the data daily, so that can also helps them to analyze and they can serve the customers better. I'm able to understand the difference. If you have that huge amount of data, if you have that recorded data, then you can do the analytics on Hadoop. Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
But I'm not sure exactly they are using and all. That's what in top level. If they have that huge amount of data, they can do their analytics. That's it.
Okay.
I didn't hear till now the logistics and the parcel services. What are they doing now? They will be using Hadoop and all. I'm not sure. But this Flipkart and all for the product recommendation, this pattern algorithm and all will be inbuilt. Will be using Hadoop. In eBay, these e-commerce sites everywhere, this Hadoop will be used inbuilt. And in India, our Aadhaar card system also uses Hadoop. Okay, all this citizens Aadhaar card information, they recording the iris and they record the thumb impression. So all these things will be recorded for each and every customer, for each and every citizen. So this data and all will be maintained on Hadoop. Okay, this Aadhaar card project basically use Hadoop in backend. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So in Hadoop we have the old version 1.x. There is exactly we have met the first introduced in 0. some versions, but actually it got here it got a huge market in 1.x, and later now we are using Hadoop 2.x, which is more better than 1.x. In Hadoop 1 we will have two components, MapReduce and HDFS. Okay, where is having the drawback like single point of failure. In 2.x we have HDFS and Yarn, where we can avoid that single point of failure. Okay, so this the current stable version is Hadoop 2.x 2.4 we are using. Hello?
Vikram?
Yes?
Yeah, could you hear me?
Yes.
What you said about the
About?
Yeah, the difference between the two versions.
Yeah, in Hadoop 1.x it's No, like it's a single point of failure. Okay, we'll let you know what is single point of failure. The entire cluster will be down. It can fail at any time. Single point of failure.
Okay, okay.
In Hadoop 2.x, we have avoided, we have overcome that kind of disadvantages in Hadoop 2.x. Okay, we will never have a downtime in Hadoop 2.x.
Okay, 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 okay.
Okay, so this is what the releases happened in those years. Finally, we are in 2.x, where we have HDFS, HA, and YARN. These are the two main features where we'll never have met with any downtime, and we can use the 100% cluster resources. That I will explain. And right now, as a demo part, we will discuss Hadoop 1.x architecture clearly. I'll just explain you the demo of first class, like Hadoop 1.x architecture. So Hadoop basically works with the master slave architecture. We'll be having one master. We'll be having one master. Multiple slaves. All these slaves will be connected to master. Okay. In Hadoop 1.x or 2.x, we have core components like HDFS, MapReduce. It's for storage. It's for processing. In HDFS, each and every framework will be having master slave. Okay, in HDFS, the master, we call it as a name node. And again, I explained you node in the sense one computer. Okay, slave in the sense we call it as data node. Same way, for processing also we'll be having one master. We call it as job tracker. Slave, we call it as task tracker. Okay, so as I said, this one is the master. All these slaves will be managed by these masters. Okay. All these slaves will be managed by this master. Okay, so as I said, master for HDFS is name node, master for MapReduce is job tracker. All these master daemons, we call it as a daemons. All these services like master name node, data node, we will call it as a JVMs, Java Virtual Machines, running on this. This will be running Java Virtual Machine services. Or daemons, we can call it as daemons. Okay, each and every services we call it as a daemons. So the name node daemon, name node master daemon will be running on master system, and the job tracker master's daemon will be running on the same master system for processing. So name node helps for storage. Job tracker will manage about the processing. So all the slave daemons will be running on these slave nodes. Okay, data node, and task tracker. Okay, so we'll just have a look how the processing part will be taken care. Okay, we'll just have a look what the processing part will be taken care. Okay, like so in any environment we will be storing we'll be having some storage system. In Linux we'll be having Linux file system. In Windows we'll be having a Windows file system. In the same way we'll be having just we'll explain the storage part clearly, how the actual storage will be taken place. Give me 2 minutes. Okay, basically this Hadoop software or this Hadoop framework will be installed on Linux environment. Okay, Linux OS will be installed on top of Red Hat or CentOS. So some Linux OS will be there. We are going to install on top of this Linux OS will be having Hadoop. Okay, so after installing Hadoop, I have almost 100 GB of disk space available in Linux environment. So after installing Hadoop, I have to configure like 70 to 80% to this Hadoop file system. So Hadoop distributed file system. So in this 100 GB, 70 or 80 GB will be given to Hadoop, and only 20 or 30 GB will be used by this Linux OS. Okay. So in Linux, the file system, in the Linux file system, so internally each and every data will be stored as blocks. Okay. Each and every the data, what are the files which you are storing in any OS or any file system, the data in terms internally kernel level, it will be stored in terms of blocks. Okay, in Linux the block size is 4 KB. In Linux environment the block size is 4 KB. If you take in any Oracle database, the block size will be somewhat bigger than Linux. It's 8 KB. Just understanding how the blocks, how the data will actually stored on file system. It's 8 KB. In Linux it's 4 KB. In Oracle database it will be 8 KB, something like that. So in the same way, each and every file system have their own configuration internally that we may not know about it, but internally actually the data will be stored in blocks in all the file system. Okay, as Hadoop also will store its data in blocks only. Okay, as it is installed on top of Linux environment, so what are the data we are storing on Hadoop will have by default the block size in Hadoop is 64 MB. Okay, so internally the data will be divided into multiple 64 MB blocks, and this multiple 64 MB blocks again it will be stored internally in this Linux environment only. So again the 64 MB will be split into multiple 4 KB blocks. Okay. In Hadoop level, the data will be distributed in terms of blocks. Each block size by default configuration is 64 MB, and those each blocks will be stored again as we install the Hadoop software on top of Linux environment. Again, whatever the data we store in kernel level and low level, the data will be stored on Linux system. It's 4 KB. It will be split into multiple 4 KB. Okay. So then, yeah. Now we will we'll discuss what is name node, what is task tracker, and we have in Hadoop the important configuration replication. Replication factor by default 3. Okay, These are the two main important configuration settings. By default, it will be 64 MB block size, and replication factor in the sense it's by default 3. What is meant by replication in the sense? Will be replicating the data. Okay, I want to store 100 MB of data in Linux environment in Hadoop. So if I have replication factor as 3, actually I'm going to utilize 300 MB of data, 300 MB of disk space on Hadoop, disk space on HDFS. Are you getting my point? So I want to store 100 MB of file on HDFS, but based upon the configuration I have replication factor 3. Internally I'm going to utilize 300 MB of data. Why? Because I will be having 3 copies of 100 MB files. As the replication factor is how many, the number of replication factor, that many number of copies I will be going to store, or we are going to use those much of disk usage on HDFS. Why we are doing that? That is the next question. I will explain that going forward. So this is all our default settings, and you can able to configure. You can able to increase the block size multiples of 64 MB again, or it can be 128, 512, something goes on. Maximum block size we can able to give is 2 GB. I can configure maximum block size as 2 GB. Why? Because Java internally, these and all Java JVMs, right? It can handle only, each and every thread can handle only 2 GB of data to store or process. So maximum capacity to handle those each and every threads, each and every distributed processing, that can handle only 2 GB. Okay. The maximum replication factor we can give is 512. No one is going to have that many copies, right? 100 MB file into 512 copies. Is that much? No one going to use. This is the recommended way. This is the best practice to have 3 copies. So maximum in every project we are going to use only 3 only. We are not going to exceed more than 3. Unnecessarily we are going to utilize the disk usage. So this is the maximum recommended value, 3. So something, no, as part of technology we have to learn about the default value and the maximum value. I'm just giving the maximum value here. Okay. Yeah. How it internally works, the storage part. We'll be having the client machine where we programmers going to sit and work. Okay. So client will be client in the sense like, the application which helps us to communicate with Hadoop framework and the programmer or end user. So we will be having some interface application that we called as a client. Okay. So from client machine we got a request. Okay. All the requests, entire cluster will be managed by this master node. Okay. All the slave nodes will be managed by this master node. Okay. Name node will take care of data node. Job tracker will take care of task tracker. Okay. And mostly this data node and task tracker will be running on the same node, on same computers. These two services will be running on the same node. And mostly this job tracker and name node also will be running the same mission or 2 different missions. It's up to us. Okay, how much capacity we have. We can run in 2 different missions as well. Okay. So what will be name node having? What will be the data node having? Whatever the data which we are storing on HDFS, the actual data will be stored on these data nodes. So in name node, we will be having on the metadata of this data node. Okay, how much data they have utilized, what are the type of data they have stored, and how many copies they have, how much disk usage is there, how much is disk free is disk space is there. All this kind of data or metadata will be managed by this name node. Okay, so this is what my name node does. So in job tracker, whenever they got any request in order to process the data which is there in data node, the job request will be taken by this job tracker, and job tracker will take the metadata information from name node, and the job tracker will, by taking that information, job tracker will communicate this task tracker where the data is actually stored, and will instruct the task tracker to process the data which is there in data node. So this is the overall top level functionality. Okay, I'll just give you the explanation how it works basically. Please hold on. We already 11:20. We'll wrap it up in 10 minutes time. I'll just explain this HDFS storage part. Okay. So 2.x and all we'll be explaining going further in the class. As a demo purpose, I'm going to explain only 1.x. Okay, and we'll be comparing with 1.x everywhere. So it's very important to learn 1.x now. So we need to know what are the disadvantages first, and not that we are talking about the advantages. So yeah, I want to store this 100 MB of file on HDFS. Basically, this data node and master. Okay, whenever we are talking about storage part, we are talking about name node and data node. Okay, so I want to show this 100 MB of file on this HDFS. So by default, we have this configuration block, say 64 MB and the replication factor 3. So it will the name node will instruct client. It will check the details and all. What are the data nodes having free space available? Okay, based on that information, and it will instruct client. So slave 2 and 3 will having some disk space available. We can store those 100 MB of file in those slave nodes, so those data nodes. And also we have configured with the block size 64 MB. We have to split your file into 2 blocks, and you need to give it to those data node. Name node will instruct that client to store the name node will be getting that metadata information, disk space available or disk usage things. It based upon that it will to give those 100 MB of file to this data node. Okay, internally this 100 MB file will be split into, like for example, example purpose, a.txt 64 MB and b.txt 36 MB. Right? We have 2 blocks. We have divided this into 2 blocks. Okay. So we'll be giving these 2 blocks to slave node 2. Okay, here actually it holds the 2 blocks. Okay, it gives the first copy to slave node 2 where the disk space is available. Okay, it gives the first 2 blocks. We have stored these 2 blocks in slave 2. Okay, then each and every 3 seconds these slaves will be sending heartbeats to name node. Hello boss, I'm alive, I'm working. Okay, and every 10 minutes they will be sending the block reports. Okay, hello boss, I got new files and I know client deleted some files from my machine. So this is how the current available disk usage, and all these reports will be reported to name node every 10 minutes. Okay, so after 10 minutes the name node will be reported to this. So you have new block. As we need to maintain replication factor 3, can you please do that, maintain these 3 replication. So after this primary copy, name node will instruct this data node to maintain this 3 copies. So it will share those blocks to its neighbor systems. Okay, in sequentially. Internally it will distribute each other. Okay, sequentially, and it has to make sure that they are maintaining 3 replication factor. Why we are maintaining this 3 replication factor? As we know, these and all cheap hardware, commodity computers. No, it's a low configuration. It's not an high-end machine, so it can fail at any time. If this data node 3 got failed, okay, we have other 2 copies. We can read and process the data. Okay, that is the reason we are maintaining 3 copies. In my bad luck, I got 2 copies got failed. Still I have 1 copy. I can able to read and process. And by the after 10 minutes, name node will check. Okay, these 2 data nodes are got dead, and we lost 2 extra copies. Can you please replicate those 2 extra copies in some other data nodes which are available? Okay, we can contain multiple data nodes to this name node. Got my point? In order to maintain high availability of data. So that is the reason we will be having replication factor as 3. Okay, any questions in this? Able to understand?
Yeah.
See now,
Yeah.
yeah, that is the
Yeah.
reason we are going to maintain the replication factor as 3 recommended value. So if any one data node goes down, we'll be having other data node copies in this some other data nodes, and after 10 minutes we will try to replicate the next 2 copies in some other data nodes. Okay, so all this information will be maintained in this name node. What are the requests or writing a file or reading a file will be go through this name node only. Okay, so as I said, Hadoop 1 is single point of failure. Single point of failure. Like if one data node dead, I have other copy there in some other data node. What if master is failed? I will be lost, right? I cannot request anything on this slave node directly. All the requests we have to go through this name node only, because it has all the metadata information. Information, it has all the information with the data node. If name node dead, we can't directly go this. Even though the data is there in these slave nodes, we can't have access to those data because we don't know what data is there in what slaves. Okay, this is why the single point of failure, in the sense I said, Hadoop 2.x, we have overcome these kind of failures by helping HDFS, HA, name node federations and all. It's there. It's the other topics. So in 1.x itself, to overcome this issue, we will be maintaining the secondary name node. And again, there will be having some other issue. There will be taking this metadata information of this name node. For every 60 seconds, 60 minutes, will be taking backup to the secondary name node. Okay, in order to maintain high availability. Every 60 seconds, this metadata information will be given to the secondary name node where we will be having the backup. Okay, so okay, fine. At 1 o'clock, I get the backup. So the next backup will be taken at 2 o'clock. What if the name node dead at 1:30? I am going to lose the 30 minutes operation, the file storage or file retrieval, file activity, everything will be lost for the 30 minutes. Okay, are you able to understand? By default, we have configured 60 minutes. We will use if the name node fails after giving the first copy to this to the secondary name node. After 30 minutes fails, we are going to lose this 30 minutes. The 30 minutes window activity or files which are stored on this HDFS will be lost. That information will not be there. Okay, if the name node metadata crashed, while we have the backup until 1 o'clock, but 1 to 1:30 operation will be going to lose. Okay, so that is many cases will be having maximum 10 minutes, something kind of the window taking backup will be 10 minutes or 15 minutes. They are configured like that. Okay, but it's again, it's not again, someone administration guy has to come in and he has to check and he need to make find out the root cause of this problem and need to make he has to take a decision by making the secondary name node as a primary master name node, or he will rectify this issue and will copy the metadata from this to this primary name node. Something like that, he will take a decision and will do that. For that, I will be having some downtime. Okay, 1 or 2 hours, you will be taking time to do this activity. Got my point? Any questions in this? Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, no, Vikram.
Yeah. So this is how the demo purpose I have given this explanation. Going forward, we will be having multiple topics on 2.x, and we are going to discuss in depth of HDFS, in depth on MapReduce, everything. I think, if you have any question in this demo, you can ask me. So this is the better understanding, like HDFS and MapReduce storage and processing. So if you see, yeah, we'll have multiple types of cluster that we'll discuss when we are discussing about the configuration and all going forward. Okay. Yeah. So here you can see job tracker and name node. You see HDFS, there below the line we'll be having HDFS and above the line we'll be having MapReduce. In HDFS, the master services name node, we'll be having multiple data nodes. And again, MapReduce, the master services job tracker, will be having multiple task tracker. and all the, you can see this will be there in single system. Job tracker name node, task tracker data node will be also in the single system. Okay, here the diagram indicates name node can have the control over all these data node. Job tracker has the control over all its slave nodes. Okay, name node cannot control the task tracker. Job tracker cannot control the data node. Able to understand? So in other way, master services can talk to each other, slave services can talk to each other. One master cannot talk to other slave, and in the same way, job tracker cannot talk to data node, name node cannot talk to task tracker. Okay, in the vice versa. All masters can communicate to each other, slaves can communicate to each other, and every master has the can communicate to each slave. Name node master can communicate to data node, job tracker master can communicate to task tracker. Okay, this is how the communication protocols will be there. Configuration audio. I think I'm done with the demo. Just we are going towards the end of the session. So we have multiple job opportunities on market and different roles: Hadoop developer, Hadoop administrator, data scientist, data analyst, and data architect. We'll be having different roles on Hadoop. So as part of this course, I'm going to give the brief introduction about Hadoop, and with the help of this course, you can able to try as an analyst or a developer. Okay. By using, if you're good in Hive and Pig, you can try with the data analyst. If you're good in MapReduce and all, you can try try a job search as a developer. Okay. So in data analyst, mostly we have something the R language, and we have some patterns and all models available, search and analyze. That's again a different role, different opportunities. So almost 80% of developer perspective, this course is designed. Any questions in this?
Hello, Vikram.
Yes, Sriram.
You said for analyst, where we have.
Oh, what? Sriram, I'm not able to hear you properly.
Could you hear me now?
Yes.
You said for being concentrating on analyst, you have to be good at this and this. You said for MapReduce or for developers, it will
Yeah, that's what.
For analyst.
For analyst in the sense Hive, Pig and all is there, right?
That can be used mostly for analysis purpose.
Hive.
Hive, Pig. Hive in the sense using SQL will be doing the retrieval and all doing operations. And using Pig we can able to analyze the data. Using these two, if you're good in these two tools, you can go as analyst.
Okay. So again, these tools, okay, we'll take it offline anyway.
Yeah, okay, Sriram. Yeah, we'll discuss offline. Any questions, Karthik? I think we are good. By next week onwards, we are going to start the regular classes. Okay, that maybe will be like a 3-hour session. Okay, by 4 weekends we are going to complete this course, Saturday, Sunday. Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, Vikram.
Yeah. So I'll schedule it Saturday morning 10 to 11, 12, 12:30. Okay. Or 9:30 to 11:30 sometime. I'll check with everyone and I'll let you know the timings and all. Okay. That's what it's it will be 3-hour session from Saturday and Sunday. 2 days will be covering 6-hour session, and it will be continuously will be there for 4 weekends. This course will get completed. Okay then.
Okay.
Then we'll see you soon. I'm going to end the session. Okay, thanks Sriram, thanks Karthik for joining.